Yay, we're back. I always get nervous when the countdown happens. I'm like, how am I going to screw this up? So I'm glad that we're back. Everything's here. It's recording. We're good. So I just want to introduce my next guest. Well, not like introduce, he'll introduce himself, but he's a Colts fan. And so as I continue my journey through the NFL, through fandom, it has landed me at the Colts with, what is it? Lucas Oil Stadium in the background. I respect it. So I think the AFC South is going to be interesting this year for a multitude of reasons, but we'll talk about that later. So if you don't mind introducing yourself, let us know who you are, what makes you a fan, all of the cool things, anything that you want to tell us.
Sure. My name is Eric. Been an avid Colts fan since I can remember '94 when we had Marshall Faulk and before we got Peyton Manning. So I've been following the Colts all my life. I actually was following the Colts before I knew anything about college football. So I've always just followed pro football first and then got into college.
Okay. Is it normal to do it that way, assuming you live somewhere up north? Is like having a pro team like the first introduction to football? Because I feel like in the South, it's like you fall in love with high school football, quite frankly, because it's so big and so massive.
I think for me, it was because my parents. So my parents was always watching the Colts on Sunday. So I got introduced to that. And when I was able to watch TV on my own, then I was introducing myself to ESPN Game Day. So then on Saturday, instead of watching cartoons and everything else, now I'm watching ESPN Game Day, and now I'm introduced into college. So I pretty much start picking up college around when Mike Vick was playing. So around that time, and then somewhere in the 2000s with Miami, that's when I really started focusing in on college. But before then, it was just NFL. So that's the only thing I knew about.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My story's similar. Obviously, being a woman, everyone's like, how did you get into sports? But similar. Everyone else was like wanting to play outside and do other things and play Barbies. And I'm like, no, I want to watch. Like, what is this? Who's playing? So like, that's how I got into it too. So I love that. So what is it like to be a Colts fan? Like, how's the journey been? How do you feel about your fandom? I feel like every fan base, if we're being honest, we all have our ups and downs, and it's kind of this you're riding a wave. But how is it being a Colts fan?
So for me, for most of my life, being a Colts fan was pretty good because we had Peyton Manning. Yeah. So you got someone that's year in and year out, just winning, going to playoffs, going to Super Bowl, AFC Championship. Mm-hmm. And then once he left, the team kind of went down a little bit. And then we got
Andrew Luck.
We got Andrew Luck. But the problem was that we didn't have the weapons around Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
Particularly the offensive line. We didn't have the right offensive line around him. He took too much punishment, and we cut his career too short. And it kind of took everyone by surprise that he would just retire right before the start of the season. So your team is left with nothing. Everyone is shell-shocked. And we've been trying to recover since then. So we've been battling, going back and forth between, do we get a veteran QB to take the team that we have, or do we just automatically tank, start over, and rebuild? So now we're at that point where we're rebuilding and we're just waiting for the offense to catch up so that the offense and the defense can be married. And we can kind of go further into expectations and everything else for the Colts.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, tell me a little bit about, because I have questions about Anthony Richardson as well, just to see like what you all are saying. Like, what is it in Colts land, Colts country? How do you describe but with
the they don't have like a real name per se for that. It's just, you're just a Colts fan.
Yeah, I feel like every episode I've said, probably not every episode, but like Bill's Mafia is like my favorite. So I'm like, so in Bill's Mafia, like, so now I'm like, what's yours? What's your thing? So I get it.
You don't have one. If it is, it's not known. So it's not something that's folklore. Like, you go to Pittsburgh, you got the Terrible Towel.
Yeah.
You go to the Raiders, you got the Dark Hole. You got, Black Hole. You got different things, but the Colts don't necessarily have anything to stand on. They don't.
What is the Colts? Like, what is like? Okay, this is not a prepared question. So if you don't know, how some teams have like an identity because they kind of take on like the identity of their city. You know, so it's like you could say like Pittsburgh, like it's grimy, gritty. You know what I mean? You could say like the Raiders being in Vegas is kind of like just like a hodgepodge of things, and obviously they have history and all these things. A lot of people say the Cowboys are like prima donnas. A lot like you know what I'm saying? Like every franchise kind of has their
it's supposed to be blue collar. So that's supposed to be the theme, blue collar. I know when Reggie Wayne was here, his theme every time going into fall camp was I'm bringing my lunch pail. So it was always blue collar. We're coming in hard to work, smash mouth football, but a little bit of finesse when it comes to the passing game. So that's was supposed to be the general identity of the team. It's supposed to be just smash mouth. We're going to run it up and then take open shots and then kind of go from there. So that was, predominantly what the identity of the team is supposed to be.
Got it. Okay, cool. So tell me about free agency. How have you guys done in free agency? Is there anybody that you got where you were like, yay? Did you lose anybody? How has it been for you?
So the key with free agency for the Colts, the key word is retention. So for us, we had a lot of players, well, not a lot, but offense and defense that were key contributors that we needed to bring back. So we did extension with Pittman, 1,000-yard receiver, had an extension earlier in the year with Jonathan Taylor. So you got to get your franchise running back. So now you've locked up your offense. They already took care of the offensive linemen years prior. Nice. What they had to take care of was defense. So they extended the middle linebacker, Zaire Franklin. A year before that, they got EJ Speed. They extended him. And then they extended Tyquan Lewis on the D-line, Julian Blackman, safety, and another D tackle, Grover. So
it sounds like you guys are pretty stable, and like you said, you had all the guys you needed. You just needed to keep them, which is awesome because some of these organizations literally had to have a dumpster fire, like not a dumpster fire. They had to have a fire sale because they were over cap or they weren't very good. So it's a lot of moving parts.
And what they did with the deals is that they wasn't long-term deals. So they're not 5
years. The Steelers way?
They're not 5 years. So these are all like 3-year, but only for the players. So the players are getting a lot more guaranteed money, but the deals are shorter. So teams can just cut bait after 2 or 3 years. They don't have to.
I love that. Like, I mean, historically, people like the way the Steelers do contracts and everyone's like, yeah, they don't play anybody. They don't pay anybody. And I'm like, they really don't. But I don't mind it because they do pay who needs to be paid. And everybody else, it's like, why pay a receiver? We can go get one. It's like everybody has their own formula. So who am I to say? Well, that's awesome. So tell me about the draft. How did the draft go? I know you have a Longhorn. Hook them. But how do you all feel like as a fan base about the draft? Was there anybody that surprised you? I feel like some people day one, they were kind of like, and then day two, they were like, okay. And then by day three, when they saw the whole draft, they felt better. What was it like for you all? How did you feel about the draft?
So for me, the draft, they needed to address a few things. From rumblings, we heard that maybe they're going to try to trade up to get a tight end. So that's what we thought was going to be the strategy going into the first round.
Okay.
But then how things played out with all the teams grabbing offensive tackles and quarterbacks, it slid all the top defensive players down. And we're like, hey, we're not going to pass up on getting a pass rusher. So that's one thing that the Colts have lacked for the past maybe a decade or so. We haven't had our pass rushers like we had with Mathis and Dwight Freeney. Because we kill teams with that, and they would be game changers. A game changer has got to come from an edge rusher. And now we facing too many quarterbacks in the AFC South that are mobile, that can do things. You got to heat them up, and you have to get edge rushers. Even though we had a franchise sack record of 51 last year, you need more. So
that's kind of interesting. Okay, interesting stat.
So if you need more, you still got to get more. So I like them taking a chance on Latu. And I've seen Latu destroy my Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, I was going to say you're very familiar with him.
But he destroyed the rest of the Pac-12 as well, because he had 13 sacks on the season.
Okay.
So that's very, very productive.
Did he finish with 13 sacks?
Yeah, and then over like 24, 25 in like 2 years.
Wow, good for him. And so can I ask, is that the guy, you know how I am with these names, is that the guy that does he have neck issues or
he did
is
have
that another?
He did have a neck injury.
Okay.
And then I guess he recovered since then.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody has an injury in football.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's working through something. So anytime you can take a break and sit down and do nothing for a few months, it's probably going to get better.
And the good thing about his injury is it happened long enough to where he's gone through 2 full seasons healthy.
Oh, okay. So that was like an old, okay, got it.
So it wasn't recent. It was before. It was before he got to UCLA, because he wasn't always at UCLA. So they took a chance on him, and then he got healthy, and then he balled out.
And then yeah, that's the thing about the media, though, is like they bring up these things, and you think they're like, oh yeah, he broke his ankle, and then you're like, oh gosh, that sucks. And I'm like, yeah, back in 2020, and you're like, what does that have anything to do with today?
I mean, with the advances of technology and how people heal and training and everything else, you're pretty much gonna come back from anything. I've seen Peyton Manning come back from a major neck injury. The Colts didn't want to take a chance on bringing him back, and I don't think they could protect him. To be honest, I don't think we had the offensive line at that point to stand up and protect him going forward. It was better off, hey, we're gonna probably bring in somebody young. Let's go ahead and cut you and let you go flourish. He goes to Denver. He's healthy and he wins.
So can I ask a question? Did you all ever hear that he was going to go to the Texans?
I didn't remember any rumblings of where he was going to go. I just wound up. He just was in
Denver. Yeah, I remember like here everyone thought he was going to go to the Texans, which obviously he didn't.
He wouldn't go to somebody in the same
division. That's what I thought. That's why I was asking.
If anything, he would go outside of it. Maybe stay in the same conference, but go outside.
Makes sense. Awesome. Who else did you get in the draft where you were like, all right, I see y'all?
Well, the first 2 names, Mitchell. I'm gonna butcher his first name. Is it Adani?
Yeah, we call him AD.
AD for short. Okay.
Yeah, it's just easier. Yeah.
I went back. I watched Texas games. I would see him take the top off. That's what we needed. We needed someone to be opposite of Michael Pittman. So we didn't necessarily have another receiver that we could trust that be tall enough, big enough to, will take the pressure off of Pittman. So now we actually have that, which should be good as far as the offense goes. Now you have your 3 or 4 receivers that we can kind of depend and trust on. That's something that we didn't necessarily have another receiver.
Okay, I see. The other thing about AD is obviously he was at UT last year. He's phenomenal at UT. They loved him. He has a daughter. He is very active in being a dad, and he leans into it. He's just solid, he's just solid. But he came from Georgia. So it's like he has the pedigree, it's not just like what he did last year. It's that like he's used to working his butt off and winning the job and winning the reps. So I like players like that. Like, it's not because he went to Georgia, but he had to work to play, and anytime you have a child, when you're a college athlete and you're a dad, I just think that that's amazing. So I'm happy for him, and I know he's pissed, because he thought he should have went in the first round and all this stuff.
A lot of players should have went in the first round, but how it played out,
you couldn't.
The whole draft got shifted. So defense got shifted. All the wide receivers got shifted. There's wide receivers should have went first round, but it's so deep, you're going to end up going second and third round. It's just how it goes. It depends on what teams need and how it goes. It's not, you can't take it as a slight. As long as you're first and second round, you should be fine. But it is a difference between the money. So the money starts playing the difference between first round, second, third round. Once you get the 5th, 6th, and 7th round, you might as well just go undrafted and figure out a team to go to.
That's the $1 million question, right? Would you rather get drafted at the end or pick a team to go. And everybody's situation is totally different. So I feel like, and also if you have a good agent, then that helps. But there was something else I wanted to say too, was like, the draft was super interesting. I mean, if I'm being honest, and like my trust issues with coaching, and like the Steelers organization is like the organization I trust the most. I remember I was like, I hope they don't do something out of character and go reach for a receiver, because they never thought some of these guys were going to be available. Mm-hmm. And so I started to get nervous, because I don't think anybody saw the draft going the way that it went. Mm-hmm. And so they didn't. Obviously, they did the right thing. They got an offensive lineman, but it was like, I just remember watching that and being like, oh no, this is not another quarterback, an offensive, like it was crazy. Mm-hmm. So
I'm glad we got the positions of need. So the next positions for the draft that the Colts needed, they're going to need a new center, and they're going to need a new offensive tackle. So the age of our line is getting a little bit older. So now it's time to start. Okay, let's start figuring out depth pieces that we can do. Because I know our right tackle, I forget his name, but he missed some time last year. So we needed somebody to be able to come in and play immediately, just in case he doesn't make it through the season.
Got it.
So that was kind of something that the Colts have been plagued with, is either injuries or PED suspension. It's either one or the other. I need a
Who got PED suspended?
One of our D tackles from last year.
Okay.
So when that happened, it happened in like the beginning or the middle of the season that he got busted. So then it ruined the running game, and we lost like 3 or 4 games in a row because we couldn't
stop the run. Yeah.
So
interesting. I don't even think I heard about that.
Oh yeah. He got caught. So the news cycle probably just got buried.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your concern heading into the season? Is it staying healthy, or is it depth? Like, what is the thing that, when you look at your team historically, currently anyway, what are you most concerned about?
So the most thing I'm concerned about is staying healthy, putting the players in the right position, especially quarterback. So Richardson, he didn't get to play his full season last year. He had flashes of showing greatness, of being good, but you can't put him in position to run often and to take big hits. So his injuries came from off script running and trying to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
You want to do it, but certain things, don't put your quarterback in position to try to make those Superman plays. Right. It's not needed. He's going to get hurt. He did. And then we had to have Gardner Minshew kind of step in. Speaking of that, he went off, I think, to the Raiders. I think we brought
he's at the Raiders.
So now you bring in another veteran QB.
Wait, who did you bring in?
Joe Flacco.
Oh, Joe Flacco. I can't cheer for him, just out of obvious reasons.
I know the Ravens.
Okay.
But you bring in another veteran quarterback to basically his insurance policy in case Richardson's shoulder's not all the way healed. So if his shoulder,
what are people saying about his how are you all feeling as fans? Like, do you feel like, okay, he's ready to go? Does he post like recovery video? Like, how does he? I don't know much about him.
From the reports, they said he's progressed fine. He's ready to go. So they said he's throwing, he's doing everything. Cool. So it's not like there wasn't any setbacks. So
cool. Okay, good. I hope he does well.
He did enough to be able to pledge. So if he was able to pledge during his recovery, I'm pretty sure he's healthy enough to play.
Yeah. Oh man, these guys are living such a different life than the one I. That's awesome. So my other question would be about the schedule. How do you feel about the schedule? Are there any games?
Yeah.
They haven't released the schedule. All you know right now is who you will play home and away. I actually think, as of this recording, there's no schedule, but I think I saw this morning that it's coming May 15th, I think they said. I think, but don't hold me to that, because the NFL, and if that's true, you'll get a slow trickle, right? You'll get like random things that will start to come out. But is there any games that like you look at just as a Colts fan every year that you're like, oh, right, here we go, these guys? Or how does the schedule look to you, just like from a visual perspective and based on the competition?
So I'm going to go back, just knowing our conference, we always win games that we're not supposed to win. So every
Mhm.
year we might play one or two teams that are top in the conference that we win. And then there's teams that we shouldn't lose to, we lose. But
Yeah.
our main nemesis for the AFC South is Jacksonville. So
Oh,
Jacksonville
okay.
has had our
Okay.
number for the past like 5-6 years. We can never beat them. I don't know what it is that got over us. They got our number. We have to be able to beat them and beat them twice. Like we can split. I don't care about splitting with Tennessee and splitting with the Texans. Most
Okay.
of the time we beat Tennessee, so they really haven't been able to beat us since I can
They're
remember.
kind of in an interesting, yeah. They need, yeah. Let's just leave them where they're at for now.
Yeah, they don't. For whatever reason, we got their number, so we
Yeah.
always pretty much kind of beat them. Texans, we kind of split with them. They're on the rise. They're going to be tough, but Jacksonville, they've always had a number. We have to be able to beat them. We
Got
can't let
it.
them beat us because they beat us twice last year. They beat us to be able to get into the playoffs a couple years ago.
Oh, okay. So that's like the team.
Breakdown. So that is the team
Yeah.
that we have to beat. I don't know what it is, and we definitely have to win there. We've never been able to win there at all. I don't.
Really?
No, we do terrible every time we go play Jacksonville. Even when I was younger, watching it when they had
With Fred
Gerard,
Taylor.
yeah, we couldn't beat them. I don't know,
Mm.
we just couldn't beat them. So they've always had our number. That's something that we got.
Interesting. But that's what the thing is, right? UFC fighters, boxers, like there's usually always a guy or a girl that like you can't. You can beat everybody multiple times, but when you face that one person, it's like I can't. It's just style. Maybe it's style. Are y'all similar? Do you think y'all are built similar to them?
Um,
I don't think so, but
no,
that's weird.
no, I don't think it's a
It
style.
just
I don't know what it is. It's just that they just have our number. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, tell me something about the Colts that, like, as a fan of another team, I would never know just because I'm not a Colts fan. Like, what do you, this is going to sound like kind of childish, but like, how do you all think about your organization? Are y'all like, do you like your head coaches? I know the GM is kind of like always in the news doing something freaking random. But how do you all feel as fans? Like, do you feel like, I'm assuming you guys aren't delusional. I'm assuming you're not like Super Bowl this year, we're winning it by 20 or whatever, but how do
No,
you
I
feel?
think that the fans are realistic. So
Good.
we're not like Dallas where it's Super Bowl or bust. We kind of temper expectations.
Okay.
Only thing that's a wild card is our owner. So our owner is a wild card. So
He's
he's a wild card. It's a lot
yes.
of history. I don't know if he's gonna. He might have to sell the team eventually. I don't.
I mean, every time I think that's it, like he's gone too far. He hasn't, and he redeems himself and he comes back. But that's why I was asking, like, as a fan base, though, I obviously don't live there. I don't hear.
There's not a lot of
I don't
negatives that
hear.
come out.
Yeah, I don't.
He's pretty down to earth, and he's
Okay.
like the players. They like him. So
Okay, then that
he gives
helps.
a lot of opportunities for ex players. Then you really never hear anything that's bad. It's like, okay, they ended on bad terms, where it's hostility in the locker room, hostility in the in the program. Um, so things are a lot better. Things have
Okay.
definitely got a lot better once they got one of the GMs out, and they kind of brought in Ballard. So Ballard, he's been more of the stable guy.
Got it.
He likes him. The guy that they had before then, I'm trying to remember his name. People didn't like him.
Okay.
So the fan base didn't like him, and he was making a lot of moves that people didn't like. Like
Got it.
he was affecting too much on the field. He got fired. So there's a reason.
Okay. So final question, unless you want to talk about something else, how do you predict the season? Like, what are your thoughts? You don't necessarily have to give me wins and losses if you don't want to, or a record if you don't want to, but like, is there something you're expecting them to do this year? Like, I was talking to a Raiders fan and he was like, I expect them to at least win 10 games. Like,
yeah, the expectation this year, we went 9-8 with a backup quarterback. We didn't even have our franchise quarterback in. So The expectation this year is at least go 10, 11 games, at least to win. So, NFL, no team is going to go undefeated. They're going to drop some games. The way the schedule goes, there's going to be games that you drop. But I fully expect us to be healthy enough to get through the season. So I want to see Richardson to progress, get there. I want the offense to grow underneath Steichen and whatever the OC's name is. I want the offense to grow, and then I want the defense to get a lot better. So the defense, what I'm expecting is to lower the points. So we were 28th in allowed points. That's got to be taken down. So
you just want improvement. You just want improvement.
What will help with that is the improvement in the secondary. So the secondary was really, really young. So now the secondary is getting a little bit older. They're going to start developing more. So you should see the gradual improvement and the continuity with the team. So it wasn't a lot of moving pieces in and out. We did have a cornerback that was good, but he got busted for gambling. So you have to kind of live with that. So that kind of ruined some things. And then we had like a couple injuries. So we were just really, really young last year, and that should get a lot better. So we're just, and the thing about the defense, it was weird. It was like you're leading in sacks, 8th in sacks, but you're giving up too many points, too many big plays, too explosives. So hopefully that gets cleaned up.
Nice. So here's my curveball question. Are you ready?
Yep.
What do you have Colorado's record prediction being?
10-2.
Who's the 2 losses?
I can see maybe a Texas Tech, and it's going to be a team that they shouldn't lose to in a team.
Yeah, just like those random losses that you're like, what? Okay.
Maybe that, and maybe Kansas, maybe.
Fair. Awesome. Any other questions, comments, concerns that you'd like to share with us about the Colts? I don't want to talk about Colorado, but if you have questions, if you have something you want to say about that, great.
That could be another video. We can talk about that.
Yeah, So I'm actually excited because the Texans, I feel like, make this conference interesting because I think they peaked and are moving in a way that people didn't think was possible so fast. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they look like this year. I always say they're like the darlings of the NFL. They have a young quarterback, young coach. They're excited.
No, they're going to be tough to beat. They parlayed Deshaun Watson going to Cleveland.
My God, perfectly.
They turned that into 2 or 3 top draft picks, and every pick hit. So you got Dale. I think he's going to be coming back. I think he broke his leg.
He said he's on. Yeah, they said he's on the right trajectory. They got Will Anderson and C.J. Stroud. I mean,
he should be back, and then they upgraded everything that they need, and C.J. Stroud is good. So it's going to be tough to beat them. As long as we can split with them, I'm happy with it. We just can't get beat twice. So that's
true.
Split, but you just can't get dominated and lose twice.
Yeah, it's harder to come back especially if you guys already can't beat the Jags. So now it's like you can't. That's 4 games if you don't split that you lose. You don't want to do that in your division. Anyways,
you would have had to dominate and beat the teams in the rest of the conference that
and that's hard. I always say the Steelers' path to success has always been, I don't want to say dominating the division, but beating. I mean, I think last year we were like 7-1, or sorry, like 5-1 in our division. So it's like that. You have to beat the games in your division and then work outwards.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me about the Colts. I feel like there's some teams in the NFL we don't always hear from their fans because it's not a big market team. We just don't hear a lot of things, and the things that are happening don't always make the news. And if they do, it's like at the bottom scroll. It's like the one, and you're like, wait, who, where did it's like gone. So I appreciate you talking to me, being honest, and being willing to do this.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I would say whatever the Colts thing is, but we're working on that. Whatever the hashtag is. There has to be something.
I don't know.
Go Colts. Awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.